art students, I just had this great idea for this sweet character design. Problem is, how do I bring it to life? Brian Proctor, the art teacher, back again. So this was a question that I was asked by a subscriber, Ryan Howell, who has been watching my videos. He's been learning, which is most important, and he's been writing me, asking me, what to do and what not to do. And the other night he wrote me and he said that it was hard for him to develop the character. It's easy for all of us to just kind of image in our head our little character and draw it and put the costume and say, oh, he's got these kind of powers. But when it comes to bringing him to life, getting a story, that's kind of hard. So for you, Ryan, this is your video, and I'm going to show you and everybody else who has that same problem, who have a bunch of characters but no story behind them, how to bring your character to life. All right, so let's go to the board, and then to the drawing table, and then I'll show you guys some stuff that I did and worked on and failed and triumphed over, and let's go. All right, so here we are at the drawing table. Two things I ask you to forgive. Forgive that little squeaking, because that's my little squeaky drawing chair. It's not squeaking right now. And second one is, this is not scripted. This is just something that I thought about, and I said, let me put this thing out. So it's not scripted. I don't have, the script to make it all smooth and pretty. So next thing is, let me focus this camera. All right, I know that was 3, that wasn't 2, but all right, so let's get going. This is one of the characters that I drew. Now, I had the idea for a centaur character. So I just did a centaur and I started putting it together. And as I was putting it together, I started thinking about, okay, so it's got to be more on him. First, I thought I'd have somebody riding with him, but I was like, no, this guy has to be a warrior because he's got that warrior look. This is before I even dressed him. It was just a basic centaur and his face, and I think I put a helmet on him. So I said, okay, what can I do with this centaur? So I said, okay, centaurs are usually fighters because I drew him with that little fighter face. So I started just throwing all these weapons on him, and I said, okay, he could be like a war horse. He could just come into battle, and then he has like just unlimited amount of weapons because he has his own basically, trunk space to put weapons in. So, but with this one, that's as far as I got. I didn't think about backstory or anything like that because when I started this, it was just to be for my coloring tutorial because I had a section where I was just doing coloring, speed drawings with coloring. So this was going to be one, but it never got that far because I have so many ideas just flooding through my head. So this is another one I did, and I actually started coloring this one, and she was going to be like a sorceress, / warrior, because when you, as I said earlier, when you put your characters together, basically you see them in your head, you dress them, and then you give them their powers, and that's about it. But you have to have a backstory because a character without a good backstory is kind of like food without a real good flavor. I mean, it does the job, it satisfies, it fills you up, so it, maybe satisfy the craving, but it doesn't satisfy you as far as flavor and so forth. So you have to have some type of backstory to do it. So we're going to talk about what steps you need to take to get this backstory to have your character complete or to bring that character to life. So let's start out with one of the characters that I already brought to life. Now this was let me pull the camera back so you guys can see a little bit more. All right, so this is one of the first pinups I did for the Next Soldier book. Now I've only done one book for this guy so far because, as I say, I have a flood of ideas coming in. So I came up with the idea for the uniform and the powers. So this guy he's actually a kid. He's actually a kid, and if you look at it, it's kind of like on the line of Shazam, but I want to say I did this long before Shazam, actually became popular. I'm trying to look at when I printed this thing out. This was 2009 when I actually came up with this guy. So the story is about this kid, if I can remember, because it's been so long since I actually had to pull the story out. And him and his mom moved to a new city. The dad was gone. The mom had to work 2.5 jobs just to support him. So he started out at a new school, and he wanted to be popular. He didn't know anybody, and he didn't want to be like the new kid. Nobody had made friends with. So he started wearing the clothes to look popular, just to get in with the popular group. And one girl saw him and, kind of took a liking to him and asked him to join the group, because this a group in the school, and these guys are like the in crowd. They go hang out together. If you're with them, you're popular. So they asked him to go. So he went to their warehouse. They had a little warehouse. It was like their club, and then part of it, there was like this little demon worshiping ceremony that they were going to do. It was this little demon worshiping little party thing they were going to do. So he was like, okay, what is this mess about? So, he was just trying to fit in with the group, so he didn't say anything. But somehow, some way, they actually did resurrect or set free a bunch of demons, which possessed all of the group except for him. So the main demon, which is right here, let me see if I can snatch him out. That's Rage and his little minions. They did not possess him because there was something about him that basically kind of stopped them, but he was saved by a soldier of God. So that soldier chose him a long time ago to be the next soldier to fight demons. So he gave them this ability, the armor, the shield, the sword, so that he could be basically the next soldier. But the thing was, he didn't know about God. He didn't really care about it. He just wanted to be the in crowd. So he had the power. So basically he had to choose between being this soldier and fighting demons or being in with the crowd, because the group was possessed by demons, but they didn't know that. So the next day they were like, hey man, where you been at? We had the party and you disappeared. So he knows, they don't know. So they say, oh, by the way, you're in the group now. You're one of us. So he's in, but these guys are demons, and the guy that gave him the power told him that they're trying to kill him because they know he's going to be the next soldier. So the only way he can use his armor and his power is to learn about God. So he's now forced between being cool with the other guys or being this little nerd that, goes to Bible study and so forth and so on. So it's about a choice. It's like all of us. When you're young, you want this or you want that. You have to choose. So for him, these demons were continually attacking him, but he had the ability, but he didn't know how to use it. He had the ability to fight him, but he didn't know how to use it. The only way for him to understand and know how to use it was to find out more about God. And the guy who was the soldier before him tried to teach him, but the cool kids found out, and they were harassing him about, oh, you want to be a Bible thumper? Oh, you want to be in God? You don't want to be cool and hang with us? So he was like torn between the two sides and which side he wanted to choose. So this was going to be like in the next book. I don't think this was in the first book at all. No, it was not in the first book. Let me see. No, it was not in the first book. Just the helmet. When you start out with a story, or when you start out with a character, your character has to have had something happen to him or her that caused her to have these powers or these abilities or to lead that person down that path. And it all starts with being young. Where did you grow up at? Did you grow up in the city? Did you grow up in the country? What were your parents like? Because you were programmed by your surroundings. If you were, born into richness, to wealth, and you grew up in a castle, then of course you're going to go out into the real world spoiled and having that personality and that mentality of, oh, I'm so perfect. I cannot drink this. I cannot ride in your raggedy car. It's not a Rolls Royce. That type of thing. So it has to start out at the beginning. So take your character and then put it in wherever, as in the environment. Put him in that environment that's going to shape him or her to allow her to come into contact with whatever, whether it was you drank some serum from a laboratory and it gave him the power. So the best thing for that to do is either his father worked in the laboratory, or he broke into the laboratory, and then he was thirsty, it was a hard breaking into, so he drank some. So he'd have to be, his background has to be surrounded or connected to whatever happened to this guy, or whatever happened to cause the person to have that power. So let's switch to the next one. And then same thing, you know, with all your characters, you're going to have, you know, the age, the power, the whatever. And I'll get into that as we go along. So this one, if you've been with me in the channel, this is the eye of the beholder, or I call him the right eye, just to make it short. Now this guy was a soldier. He was a Delta Force. He was in Delta Force, and him and his team were doing a mission, and he was shot in the eye. So he was lying there, dying, and he prayed. Yes, you know, a lot of my stuff is related to God because true power is from God. That's just how I roll. So before he blacked out, he saw this little angel come to him and touched him on the head, and he blacked out, and he woke up in the hospital. Now he was not in America, it was in some foreign land, and I'm still working out the details on that. But the doctor told him that the bullet lodged in his brain, and if he moves too much or jostles too much, that bullet could rub against something that will paralyze him and cause him to die, basically almost instantly, so we say. So there was a little girl in the hospital that was very sick. She came, when he woke up, she was there reading him stories. So they became like really great friends because she was there, she took care of him and so forth. So later on in this hospital, in this small little village, jungle, wherever, bandits broke in. Him and the preacher, the pastor of that church who would go there, you know, not church, the pastor of the small church who would go to the hospital and pray and talk to people, salvation, blah, blah. They went out. He got better where he could stand up, but he wasn't going home yet, and they went out. So when they got back, the bandits had robbed and kind of burnt the hospital, you know, and took all the medicine, including the medicine for that little girl that was there helping him. So he and the pastor went out to their camp. They broke in to steal the medicine, but they got caught. So long story short, they started torturing this guy and hitting him in the head, and he still had his bandages on. So just before he blacked out, the bandage kind of burnt off of his face, and this bright light shone through, and then it just enveloped everything. And then everybody in that room was like in this demon realm. And because he was kind of like out of it, he didn't know what was happening. He was just there screaming, and the light was there. And everybody else kind of like was going crazy. And the pastor who was there too kind of knew what was happening. And he knew that the light was coming from him, and he was transported from there to there by this guy. So he was kind of starting to go crazy too, because you just can't wake up and you're in some kind of realm, you know, different world. But an angel appeared behind him and then covered his eye and then brought them back to the real world, where they were able to get the medicine and then go back to what was left of the hospital to try to, and I'm looking for the cover, one of the covers, save the little girl. All right, now there's more to the story than that. And as I said, I apologize for my breaking up because this is not scripted, but let's go back into his past. His mother and his father, he was a military brat. They were both in the military, but they died in the military when he was still young. And so his grandmother took care of him, and she was very religious, and she would always pray and read, and, you know, to him and try to teach him about God. But he was rebellious because his parents were gone, so he was always in trouble. So when he hit 18, he did something, he was arrested, and the judge knew of the grandmother because she was like very active in church. So she said, you have two choices to him. You either go to jail or you go into the military. So he went into the military, and because he was basically a natural born athlete because of the genes of his parents and the energy that he had. So he rose to the ranks of becoming, you know, a high, not official, but high ranking in the military, and then ended up joining the Delta Force, which took him to where he was overseas and to see what happened. And then during the time he got shot, he had fell to his knees and he knew he was dying. He started praying and he asking God that, I'll do anything, just save me. I've gone through all this. I'm prime of my life, and this is how I'm going to die, just like that. So God gave him the ability to see a demon inside someone, any evil spirit that's inside someone, and then to pull that spirit out of that person. But by doing so, he and that spirit, or anyone in a room, so usually it's just him and somebody else, he'll clear the room. And then he'll remove the patch from one side of the eye and take it to the other side of the eye. And then light will envelop that room, and him and the demon or demons will be in the demon realms. So his thing is he has a certain amount of time to defeat these demons in their realm. If not, then they will come back to that person that was possessed in the first place, bringing them more demons, making that person to be harder to cure. So he has super strength, super ability. I mean, he's not like the Hulk or anything, but his strength and his speed and stamina are greatly enhanced in the demon realm. In the real world, he's like kind of like the Olympic strength, he's just in great shape because of the military training and so forth. So that's his story. But as I said, you have to have a backstory. What was it that brought that person to that? And I think I have another picture. Yeah. What was it that brought that person to that point where he or she gained his power? And this is a little pinup I did for both of these guys, and it was going to be a crossover, and it might still be a crossover. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. As I said, this was going to be a crossover, and it still might be a crossover one day. It's just that I'm doing so much stuff. But this guy here, the next soldier, his power is basically unlimited. I know I always get on like Superman, the writers of Superman. How could he do this? But this is basically God's soldier. God is infinite, all the power, anything, it's just God. So if God gives you the ability to do whatever, then you can do it. So the problem is with him is he doesn't understand how to do it. He's still torn between believing, wanting to learn, and so forth. But when he does learn, he will be unstoppable. It's like you say, oh, I can kill God. No, you cannot kill God. So he has that much ability to where Superman would be no match for him. But he will probably never reach that skill, that level of consciousness or that level of power, because you can say, do you believe in God? And some people are like, yeah, but then when something happens, they're like, oh, I don't know. It's like, well, you said you believed in God a minute ago, so what happened? So there's always that air of doubt. So he may never reach it. Maybe at 1 or 2 points in the story or in his life story, he might reach it, but that's later because I haven't really done a second book to him yet. So that's them two. So let's go on to another one and get more into detail, because this is the most detailed story character person that I've done. And by the way, this book is coming out. It's just got finished coloring, and I have to do the lettering for it and then get it out hopefully in a few months. I'll show you some pages later. So this is, if you have been with me for any amount of time, this is the Samurai Clown, the book Trials of the Samurai Clown. And this is book 5. You guys have not seen book 5 because I have to get it reprinted. I have to really go out and get this thing reprinted, because the company that had printed it, they don't sell. You have to buy it yourself and then distribute it yourself. Whereas the other company, they'll distribute it for you. So I have to redo that. So this is a Samurai Clown. Let me give you a quick backstory on this guy. He was a kid. For his 9th birthday party, and some of you have heard this before, some of you haven't. If you're new to the channel, you haven't. For his 9th birthday party, his mom gave him a clown for the party. So the clown did all these acrobatics and magic and jokes and so forth. So he wanted to be a clown. That was his thing. He's like, oh, I'm going to be a clown and make people laugh. So at 9, you go to school and you start joking and you try to be a clown and so forth. You get beat up a lot. So the 2 things he liked, the one thing he really liked is old samurai movies. He loved samurai movies. So he took on the martial arts. 1, because he liked it, and 2, because he kept getting beat up. So he became really good. He took kendo and became good with a sword. And then later on in life, he went to clown college and became a real clown. So one day, as he was performing for a lady and her child, the ex-husband, who was a drunk and an abuser, saw the guy after he left the party and tried to beat him up because he saw the wife, his ex, kiss him on the cheek, to thank him for, such a great job. So once he left the party, the ex-husband and his little drunk friends came up on him and tried to just beat him up. But he soon, just whooped up on him. And then the ringmaster, the leader of the circus, saw the skills of the samurai clown, and he used them because the circus is basically a group of assassins. So you have the clown and you have the ringmaster. These other guys are just part of the crew too. We'll get into that later. So one of the things that you're going to have to do is this. You're going to have to draw your character, which you probably draw because that's the first thing you're going to do. You have a character, you say, oh, okay, I'm going to draw him. So you draw him out and you say, okay, he has this ability and this ability. And now, but you don't know how he came to get this ability. You might say he was hit by lightning, or he drank some serum, or something, a potion or whatever, magic. That could be just a get over to get the guy, powers. But you don't know the backstory. So you have to come up with the backstory. And as I say, start out when they're young. What was the environment like that they grew up in? Was his parents this? Did he have parents? Was he an orphan? Did he have to survive on his own? That makes him more of a bully or not somebody that doesn't trust. You have to think about all that. I don't know where your character is or what your character is. Let's just say he's fast, okay, just like the Flash. And I'm just making this up as I go along. And he was a track star in school. He was a track star. He was a quick runner, and nobody could beat him. And during the one race, one school didn't want to lose, so they had had him hit by a car or something, which cut his tendons here, so he couldn't run. But in the crowd, there had always been this guy who was watching him and saw his great speed. So he was a scientist or something. So he took the guy and he put more, like tendons. He fabricated muscular tendons in his legs to give him the ability to run a little faster. So that would be how he got to where he is today, because of his upbringing, his love for running, him being, a track star in school, and the guy seeing him. So you have to think about all that. And then when you do come up with your character, you have to understand what your character really looks like. And it's something I say to people: when you draw the character, don't draw no wild, crazy looking hair because you think that looks cool because you've been looking at too much Dragon Ball. When you turn your character, you have to know what he, she, and all of this stuff looks like as you turn that person. So you have to do the head along with the body. You have to do that as well. So whatever gadgets the person may have, you have to know what those gadgets are too. And this is something, if you go on my Facebook page, you'll see all of this stuff on my Facebook page, like his sword, which is the main weapon. I showed things like how you can take the blade and the cover. God, somebody's gonna get on me for calling not knowing the name of it, and put it together so you have a long kind of a spear in the back of the pommel hilt. Somebody's gonna get on me for that. He has medicines that for poisons and so forth that he can open this up and take them out. He also has the two throwing knives. It's strong enough. The metal's strong enough to cut through stone. It cuts wire. It cuts through wire. His shoes. He never takes his shoes off because he never takes his shoes off. So the shoes has a bunch of gadgets to it. The flower, Miss Daisy, has gadgets to it as well. It can turn into a boomerang, or it sprays stuff, or it cuts. And then his capsules, all of these things, all of these weapons that he has have functionality to it. So you have to do that when you develop your character. You just can't say, oh, this character's here and he's tight and this is what I'm going to use. You have to get detailed in it. And the more characters you have, the more you have to do. So you have to do that same thing for every one of these characters. And there are more characters in here. I don't think I don't have all the characters in there, but because they couldn't fit. You have to have a backstory and how and why and so forth these guys got their abilities. And then, of course, he doesn't stay in the clan because he ran away. He has money. He is an assassin. Guy has money, so he has a nice little sweet car, which I have to finish drawing one day. So, all right, so recap. Start out when they were young. Why are you like you are? If you smoke, why do you smoke? Is it because your friends smoke? Because you saw your parents smoke? Because you used to like to go to the club when you got older? Or if you drink, why do you drink? Why do you like coffee? I don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee. My people never drank coffee. I think my mother drank coffee a little bit, but I didn't grow up in a house that smelled like coffee every morning and, to clean the coffee pot and so forth. So I never drank coffee. But if you drink coffee or you drink or you smoke or you do whatever, you like a certain type of music, why is that? Basically because that's what you were around from childbirth to now. So you have to do that with your character. What was he around? What was she around? What is she like? Is she funny all the time? Is he angry or moody or so that's what you have to do from a child on up. You have to think about the parents or the environment that created that person to make that person like he is or she is. And then you add those powers. He was at this particular place at this particular time and he got the powers. And because he's got these powers, now he doesn't take any crap from anybody. He was always kind of like a bully. He was an orphan. He was on his own. He didn't take no crap from nobody because he got made fun of. But now he's got these powers. So if you make fun of him, he'll just evaporate you. So yeah, you have to do that. So let me leave you with this. This is a story that I did a long time ago, and I had big high hope plans for this story to go, but I didn't get anywhere because this is one of the first ones that I did, and I did not, as you can tell by the color of the paper is yellow. So because I didn't really come up with a backstory for them, when I draw, I see the character and I see the motion. So I'll do the action and so forth in my drawing first before I even have dialogue. Once I put the people in motion, then I'll add dialogue. But I really don't understand the upbringing of the character. Like these two girls, as I went along, they were sisters. Okay, so the story starts out. They met to have it out. Let me shrink this down so you can get a whole picture of what's going on. All right, and if I can remember, because this is before the Samurai Clown. This is kind of this was maybe like the second story I did. The first one was my flamethrower guy that I don't know, maybe I'll pull it out. I don't know. But they ended up being sisters. They hated each other's guts. They were both basically like queens of their their people. It was like it's kind of like almost the Amazons. She the queen of her females. She's the queen of her females, and they had always been at war. So they decided to have it out to see which one was going to rule. Which one's going to rule. So basically they met up, and then he's showing you their weapons, and he's showing you the face, and then they get close up of their weapons that they use. They're about to go in to strike. So this is a little bit of the background of where they are, their little talk, little, conversation. I didn't even know what they're saying. I just saw this whole thing play out in my head. I have no idea. I came up with a name. This was Matriarch, and I forgot what this character here is named. Yeah, I forgot what it was named. So, yeah. So they're going to go do battle. They run toward each other. Then she's more of a ninja, as you should have known by now. She does a little first swing. She jumps over and lands, back. And I think she was saying something, you forgot that I was a ninja kind of thing. And then she said something, and then here's the clash. Now, this didn't go far because, as I said, I didn't have a story for it. I didn't have a backdrop. I had some as I went along, as I was drawing it. As I said, I saw the image and the picture in my head, and I was drawing it, but I did not know, where it was going to go. I kind of knew where it was going to go, but I didn't. So I knew that she was like, she forgot the strength of her sister, because her sister was like really, really good using wielding that samurai, katana. Okay, because somebody's gonna write in, it's not a samurai, it's a katana, because people have done it before. So yeah, so she was about to lose, so she summoned up her strength. She kind of like broke loose, and then she kicked the sister, a nice little side kick, knocking her helmet off and knocking the sword loose. And it hit one of the little pillars and bounced off. So she's laying there, so she's gloating, saying something. So the sister is reaching for the sword, but she wasn't actually reaching for the sword. She was reaching for the stone, because the sister was standing over there. She was like, you'll never be able to reach the sword. So she grabbed the stone and she threw it. And there's another page, there's about 2 more pages that were kind of inked, but I don't know what happened to it. And this is something that I may start again, because I like the characters. And there was a third, I ended up doing a third one, because so basically the third sister, the oldest sister, because she was the one that goaded them to come here to fight. While they were fighting, the third sister and her army went and took over their villages to incorporate, it was one group. So they had to kind of come together and go after the third sister, who was more like a shogun warrior. She had all the armor and so forth and so on. She just was like to flaunt around with like, no clothes, very little clothes. And then there was one thing the sister would always call her like a whore and so forth. So yeah, I mean, it was, as the story developed, or as I drew, I started to develop it, but I should have developed it before I even tried to ink it. So, and this is, like I said, this is this is my second attempt at doing comics. And when I started to realize how much work it was, and that it would never be colored by a professional, I think I did color that, because I was into color pencil at that time, but you can't really do a color pencil. And when I realized I wasn't going to publish it, I said, well, let me just color it with this color pencil, just because. So yes, you have to have all that, or your story won't go very far. Now, subscribe. And I keep saying I'm going to say that. I never say that, because I'm more into teaching you guys versus trying to get all the subscribers, which I do need subscribers, because YouTube will pay you when you get good subscribing. And yeah, we get paid, you get more joy, you do more videos and so forth. But yeah, I'm out to teach you guys, because this was a dream of mine. And I see so many people had that same dream. You guys been writing me and saying, when I was young, I had a book, and now that I'm older, I'm going to try to put it together, but I don't know where to start. And I found your channel, and this is great, and so forth. And I thank you guys for that. And I thank you for you guys to continue to subscribe and are enjoying it. And when you go to my channel, when you see one of my videos, click down on the actual thing below, and it goes into my channel where you can see more videos, because some people are still saying, oh, do you have one on hands, or do you have a video on feet? Yes, I have over 200 and some videos on my channel. So when you write me, I have started sending you the link to get into the channel, not just the front page, but directly into the channel, and you can see all of the videos that I have. So with that, I don't know how long this video is. I did a lot of rambling, and let me show you the flamethrower. I think this is the very first one, if I can find it. My room is a hell of a mess, and I want to show you my room too. All the stuff I go through when I have to pull out old pages and stuff. Let me find the flamethrower and show you the first attempt at Brian drawing a comic book.